podcast. We just had the finale of Andor dropped, and whew, I I'm tired, y'all. Lots and lots of stuff happened. I can't wait to jump into it. We're gonna dig into it and pull out everything we can right here, right now, on the high ground. Hello and welcome, my beautiful guests. How's everyone doing today?
I'm fine. This is fine. Everything's fine.
A little wounded, but good.
Yeah, in my feels, quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Andor finale just dropped, so we're gonna get into it and pull out all these awesome things. But to get started, I want to start by going around, have everyone say who you are, where we can find your awesome content, and Andor was my least. I wasn't excited for the show at all,
Mhm.
and it shocked me. So if you could pitch another show about a character you don't think anyone cares about, but if done right, could do gangbusters. All right, so we'll go to Cal first.
Oh man. Oh man. Okay. Uh, I might have to have like a lame cop out answer then. But hi, I'm Cal. Cal for on pretty much everything, primarily Twitch, where I stream a bunch of games. Currently, a lot of Pokemon.
Hi,
A
Doug.
lot of. Oh yeah, there's Doug.
Told you.
But yeah, so typically twitch.tv/Calfor is typically where I am. And as far as like a show around a character that I'd like to see that might be a little bit more obscure, honestly, this is me kind of a cop out, but really I want to just start seeing shows from the High Republic.
Hmm.
Because to like the larger fandom, High Republic is still a little on the less known, less traversed side. So I just want to see a show of something from there. Maybe even if it was just following Yoda in the High Republic era, right? Like it's something familiar to bring people into that era, but we just need more love for the characters there because they're some of the best and some
True.
of the least known. So
Very true.
Mhm.
Although part of me, I don't know if it's gatekeeping, but like I like having this little pocket to ourselves, you know?
As yet
Like,
unspoiled by the
the
fandom
little
menace.
the
exactly.
little
Yeah.
treasure trove of good that
Mhm.
is in the galaxy.
See, the
I feel
fandom
that.
menace can't read, so
Yes. Literacy not at the top of their skill flowchart.
If it doesn't
So,
have pictures, they're not into it.
awesome. And then, how about you, Steph?
hi, anyway, I'm Stephanie. I am from the Dark Side Divas podcast, where I am co hosting with Chris. And we are going through the entire Star Wars visual story in chronological order. So you can find us anywhere podcasts are. If you're into the chronological order idea, but not so much Star Wars, maybe more Marvel, we have a show for that too. We also have Marvelous Divas. We're doing the same thing for the MCU. Um, Oh Lord, what I would like to see, I need a Hondo Onaka show. I need it so hard I can taste it, and it tastes like stale beer nuts, but and like bottom of the well whiskey. But oh my God, I need
So
I need the
delightfully
adventures of Hondo the
specific,
pirate.
but also so
I
accurate.
love that.
It would be amazing. It could be animated, it could be live action. I do not care, but I need it.
And I mean, you got a friend in Doug for sure. Also calling for a Honda show.
Mhm.
Uh, we have Connor in chat saying Pax and Grahara. If you read Master and Apprentice, you have a jewel thieves. One of them was raised by droids. The other one was a former slave, and
Nice.
they're just a wild couple, and
Mhm.
it's wonderful.
Mhm.
Or a chorus show. Chorus from uh, Leia, Bloodline.
Mm.
So Core is the person that we see briefly in The Force Awakens. She's the black girl on Hosnian Prime
Mm.
who gets focused on as it's being destroyed. But but that'd be
Yeah.
interesting as well.
If you haven't been blown up by a giant space laser, are you even in a Star War? Honestly,
Right.
Exactly.
it's a
Goals.
rite of passage.
Hashtag goals.
Passage to your death, but still.
And hopefully, Sawyer will be joining
Mhm.
us soon. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties. Had her on recently, there was no issues. Maybe we can have her try to join by phone. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I
Mhm.
don't know. I will actually be leaving this platform soon, so that may not be an issue anymore. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the Andor finale.
Hmm.
Quick, non-spoiler hits. How did you feel about this finale? How well did it cap off this series? And where are you ranking this series? I know I'm throwing out lots of questions, but yeah, go for it. Also conversational. Feel free to jump out, go wildly off topic. We'll do the thing. Yeah, what do you guys think?
I feel like this finale was exactly where this season was going to go. Like it cast this huge net of all these threads, all these people sort of spread all over the place. They were all going to come right back tied together at Ferrix. Ferrix was always going to be the anchor point of this season. And
The
so
fulcrum.
bringing it all back together was just, it was perfect. And you got to see people who were major players in the story suddenly. Do we see you? Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Anyway, you got to see people who were major players in the story finally crossing paths, whether they realized it or not. It was amazing. And for me, Lord, Andor is my favorite, and not just because it's the most recent. It's my favorite of the live action Disney shows, Star Wars shows they put out.
Yeah.
And that's saying something. There's not a single laser sword to be found. Nobody floated a rock or nothing. Still fucking love it. Sorry, still love it.
More than anything, this thing had my heart in a vice many times. Well, now that we have Sawyer joining with us, why don't you let us know who you are, where we can find your awesome content? And I asked everyone, since Andor was my least anticipated show coming out, I'm shocked that it's doing gangbusters. So, what other thing do you think most people wouldn't be high on their list, but you think would do amazing if it's done right?
Like in terms of what's coming out that we know of already?
No, you're pitching a brand new show.
Oh man.
So
Good
definitely
question.
Nihilus, right?
Okay, well, hello everybody. I'm sure most people watching have seen me before. I'm Sawyerism. Most of my content's on TikTok, but you can find my hot takes on Twitter. And I guess Hive now. Yeah. As you can see, Chaco, I need a new computer. I've been saying that for the past 2 years. Now it's getting real. Gosh, pitching a new project. I don't know. The only project that I think of that whenever I get asked this question that I think a lot of audiences would be excited for, but also a lot of new audiences would maybe be hesitant about. If there were ever to be No, I'm not Malik. I would like a Kreia miniseries. I think that would be awesome, and I think that would draw in a lot of people, both old fans, but also I think that story would captivate new fans as well.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. I also have Pep here in the chat said in terms of least anticipated that could be gangbusters, went to Santa's Bell show. I can see that. Space lesbians traveling across the galaxy doing good deeds. I'm into it.
Relationship is doomed. Come on.
Yeah,
it was over before this episode.
True. The framing of that conversation was so. Ooh, okay. All right. So, so Sawyer and Cal, we haven't heard from you guys. Non-spoilerly, overall thoughts on the finale, how it capped off the season, and Andor as a whole.
Yeah,
How
no,
you
I mean,
feel?
for me, uh, I was actually always kind of excited for the show just because, like, um, maybe it's the internal hipster in me, but I'm like, obviously everybody's gonna be excited for Kenobi, Ahsoka, whatever. But I'm like, I want to see the shows that, like, as soon as they said Andor, I'm like, there has to be something there that would lead them to want to make a show here. So this
Mhm.
was the one I was the most curious about. Um, and boy howdy, do I feel spoiled because it was fantastic. Um, honestly, like the finale was a perfect wrapping up of all of the setup.
Oh, sorry, that came in hot. Just
Perfect.
putting that in the background. Go for it.
I suddenly feel like we should lower the lights a little bit. It's a little,
Get in the groove.
yeah,
Um,
some
but
groovy music there,
but
Jacko.
yeah, no, like it perfectly brought together all of the players that we spent so much time getting to know and setting up their stakes in really the galaxy as a whole. So getting to have kind of all of that paid off a little bit, but then also still really push us to be hungry for a season two. I thought it was
Mm.
fantastic. Because like if
Mhm.
it ended now, I don't know. I obviously want more, but I would still be okay with it. 'Cause I'm like, yeah, we kind of got a conclusion
Right.
to how these characters kind of joined where they are. But it also does so well. It's setting up season two. So I'm
Mhm.
excited.
Totally agree with that because a lot of things they end in a way where it was like they only wrote half of it and you have to wait until
Right.
next year to get the other half. This we did get something satisfying at the end, but
And
still have strings.
and like you can fill in the gaps from this season finale to Rogue One. Like
Exactly.
that's so easily fanficked. Like I've got 5 outlines in my head right now, but we don't have to because they're gonna
Yeah.
do it. Oh,
Give
so
it to us.
excited.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That what you saw?
So for me, this was my least anticipated project. I didn't know what I was getting into, and even the first episode, it didn't have me gripped. Obviously, we know the stories were meant to be taken as 3 parts each, and obviously, once I got into the meat of it, I was blown away by the entire series. This finale, I think, was everything that it should have been. It left nothing to be desired in terms of a wrap up for this story, and one of my favorite things about the show is that it did not need to be decorated with cameos or high profile characters, and we were able to have a fantastic finale that sets up this next season, sets us up to be really hungry for another season without
Totally.
having some kind of major spectacle, Luke Skywalker at the end of Mando, something like that. So it was really enjoyable, and I honestly I am sad that we went from 5 to 3 to 2 seasons. I want the fandom to rile together and be like, no, we need 5 seasons. Please give us more. Because even like halfway through the series, and I said this when I was talking with Explained a few weeks ago on their show, it there's something about this show, like, none of us kind of knew what we were getting into, but there's something about the show. You're watching it, you can see it be a long form series in a way that Mando and I guess Book of Boba Fett are more of like chronicles, especially Kenobi as well. But I could see this thing running for so many seasons, so I'm upset it's not going to, but I am very excited for season 2.
Well, and that's a really interesting point. You're talking about there's not like big headliner characters in this show, and that was something that I saw a lot of criticism about this show. For that, we're like, we don't care about anybody in this show. They're nobody. I'm like, give it a minute because you're gonna love them, but that's because that's not what the show's about. The show's not about the heroes on the top of the mountain, grabbing at the sun. This is about all the people underneath, and it finally is telling the story of the everyday people in the galaxy who are also a really important part of the rebellion, without whom, the Luke Skywalkers of the galaxy would not have anything to fight for.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes me laugh about. I think I mentioned this last time, but like Luke Skywalker stumbles into the plot,
Oh, yeah.
saves a princess, and then later like they escape, and then like later that day destroys the Death Star, gets a medal, and he's now a rebel hero. And there's people like Luthen who's just been grinding. He sold his soul. Like
Or Mon Mothma, who is risking it all on this. But no, sure, it's the twink with the laser sword. It was all him.
Yeah.
You're right.
I think
Um,
that's precisely why I've loved this show, especially like early on. Star Wars for me is at its best when it's dealing with the things that make it feel more real, like the everyday person and like their place in the galaxy. Obviously, heroes are fun to watch; they're heroic. A lot of good stories there, but why I liked this show and why I was also kind of excited for Rangers of the New Republic was it's just people. It's just people and what the galaxy means to them and why they fight for what they believe in. And this is a lot of the most relatable content in Star Wars to me. Because I feel like I might be speaking for just myself here, but I feel like a lot of people watching this can see ourselves in a lot of these characters because they're
Absolutely.
living lives that we've, and experiences that we've all had, and seeing like not to get into spoilers, but there's a speech in this episode, and like even that, like I was rallied and pumped, and I'm like, I know I would be right there, like in a heartbeat. So like for me, it's shows like this that really pull me into Star Wars.
Yeah. Same passage. We need a separatist show, either focus on a senator or an organic being, like in the military, or like Mina Montari's husband. That would be really cool. Like it's similar vein, but you're watching the splits and you're seeing how corrupt the Republic is, and that we want to split off. And some we've always been talking about is like this gives us more precedent for give us a Star Wars West Wing show. Just
Lots of walk and talk, aliens in the
just
background.
just do it.
Be amazing.
Something I want is to come from this, because we're unfortunately not going to get the 5 seasons we were originally promised. I would really like to see from a certain point of view, specifically for the characters of Ferrix. I think that would be a really cool book to put out, because every single one of the characters, even the ones that we didn't see until this episode, has a story, and I want to know. I want to know all of the details. And frankly, we could throw in characters from the ISB as well, because they all have a story too. And that was, in a way, this show to me is executed character development in the way that I think the High Republic does, where every single character, whether they're on a page or the whole book, is so well written and so, beautifully done that it's just impossible not to get attached to everybody. So that's, I think, the biggest strength of the show for sure.
Like that one dude at the beginning of Light of the Jedi who just like wants to go get off the clock so he can go talk to the pretty girl at the bar, and then like, sorry dude, there's debris coming. That's it. But
there's certainly more of that coming up.
Yep. Man, sorry, you just give me Light of the Jedi feels again of like okay, we have our space trucker lady head of cassette. She's gonna be like, and they're like, oh, I was starting to get attached. Okay.
Well, like you remember her name, so it's the same. It's just like that,
Exactly.
The thing with the folks on Ferrix is because they are everyday people, we can relate to them. And even some of the people in the ISB, I found myself against my will rooting for Deidre early on in the season. So because who among us can't relate to being the woman in the office who's being talked over and having to work 5 times as hard to get half as much recognition? Absolutely. But these characters being so relatable makes this show a lot more challenging to watch, because now, whether you want to or not, you are seeing yourself in this situation. And would you be able to rise to that occasion? Would you be the snitch? Would you be on the front lines? Would you already be dead? I'd probably already be dead. But like, because we cannot,
as long as you're not Perrin.
I'm sure there are people that can relate to him too, and they're the ones that are like, this show's boring. Nobody likes this show. It's really boring. Anyway, taking down my man bun now.
Karen's the one complaining about bricks and screws.
That's so accurate, though. Oh crap!
Yeah.
That just blew my mind.
That-
All right, so jumping into the episode, we kind of like to break it up by storyline, right? Because it's always we're all jumping in and out.
Mhm.
I want to start because it's most isolated. Let's start with the Mon Mothma stuff because that was really powerful for me watching her finally start to get down in the muck like the rest of us. How did you guys? How did the resolution of what she's been going through up there now hit you guys?
Look,
I
she
mean-
didn't want to get to this level.
Yeah. And I
She
think
didn't ever want
just
to do this.
acting alone, like just wearing
Mm.
the pain and stress of everything.
She's so isolated.
Oh, like
Oh my
you
God.
feel it watching
Painfully.
the performance as well. It's like, oh my God, you are literally surrounded
By a man bun.
by danger.
Oh, yeah, that too.
That too.
Like overly pomaded man buns as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's like, oh man, like, yeah, no, trying to even just fathom what she's dealing with
Mhm.
is nauseating.
And
Yeah.
like the only person that she's been able to really talk to and not have to maintain a front and like really just bleh about this to has been Vel. And the moment in this episode where she just looked at her and said, "I'm in so much trouble. Like, I'm sorry. This isn't even the tip of the trouble iceberg for you. And I'm so sorry. But like, you're about to lose all this. All of it."
But she turned around and threw both of her family members under the bus for the cause in this episode. And you can see how much it hurt her. But so this show was just so well thought out and well plotted. The very first episodes, introduce us that everyone's watching her. She knows that the driver's a spy.
You think she had that whole conversation with her useless ass husband in the car to rat on him to the ISB?
I don't think he was gambling at all.
Oh, he
I
wasn't.
think she said that because she knew she could control the narrative,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and that would get
Oh, and that would
reported up.
explain the
It
money
covers the fact that-
disappearing and going everywhere.
Yep,
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and she's like,
Mhm.
don't even.
This isn't
And
the first time.
That man is gonna get carted away and beat,
And
or
no
something.
one will miss him.
No one will miss him, but
Hate him.
and
I mean,
he's trash. But
it's
it still
possible
hurts
that
to
he
do
doesn't, though, because like gambling, sure, it's kind of a problem and stuff like that. But I think it was more just to try and take the heat off in any capacity, and because they were watching the finances, right?
Right.
And so it's what really gives them the rationale behind that. So now their gaze is less on that, and now we're going to be starting to look other
Like-
directions. So that way,
like
when
maybe
money's
it's-
coming in, they're not
Like
going
it's
to
the
be.
story to. Sorry, I'm talking all over everybody.
Very good.
Sorry.
No, go good.
Like
No, I
this
mean,
is the
it's-
story
all
to
I was gonna
explain
say was-
why.
Exactly. That's literally what I was gonna say. It was like it's really just going to be the why going forward.
Yeah.
So
Why she's banking with that fucking Davo guy. Sorry.
mhm.
Why she's banking with Davo. Why she's moving all this money around and missing huge chunks of money. It's because of her worthless husband.
Mhm.
I didn't even catch that until tonight.
Yeah, and I just hope at some point, like the ISB is like, listen, if you don't play ball with us, we're gonna take your husband, and she's gonna be like, oh no,
Oh no, please
no,
don't.
don't do that.
That would be terrible.
But the thing that did hurt was her watching her daughter, go back deeply into this Changeling customs. We saw she was wearing the braids and stuff, and like she was doing the chanting in the previous episode, and she's knowingly marrying her daughter, or at least did the introduction. But
Mhm.
But
You're gonna say
doesn't am I wrong? It's it seemed like Mon Mothma didn't want her to kind of join these clubs and stuff like that, and kind of have that tied a tradition. But it seemed like the daughter wanted it to begin with, and in this episode, she seemed content with how things were. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be completely misreading it, but it seemed like the biggest hesitation was that Mon didn't want that to happen to her. She didn't want what happened to her to happen to her daughter, but it seems
Right.
like her daughter's already kind of like on board. I could be
Well,
completely wrong, but that's what it seemed like to me, to where it seemed like the pain was on Mon's side for it.
So speaking as a former 13-year-old girl, I can say with confidence that Lita is doing this to mess with her mom, to get back at her mom, to rebel against her mom. That's why. Like, you skew to whatever is the opposite. So mom is like, tradition, whatever, I'm going this way and I'm very busy and I'm not paying any attention to you. This is how you get mom's attention, is by rebelling, by going to the opposite of whatever she wanted. So mom's a liberal. I'm super conservative and religious and traditional now. And I'm doing all of this, and I'm bringing the meetings into your house. And I found this priestess lady, and she's going to lead us all in the chant. And look at, here's my hair. You can't even look away from it. Like, it's just rebellious teenage crap. And it's going to land her in a marriage to a mobster's son. So, hey.
He could be a nice guy. I don't know.
No, he can't. He could be a very entertaining and wealthy guy, but scoundrels, most of the scoundrels in the Star Wars galaxy, not nice. Not nice. That's why I want a Hondo show.
What do you think, Sawyer?
Well, I think give Genevieve O'Reilly all the awards. That's my number one thing that I have to say about Mon Mothma. And it's obviously, like, watching her, because she'd only had a very, she's only played the role in very small little bits before. She hasn't, her, like, acting portfolio is not that large. So that was kind of shocking to me, because, I figured she must be really prominent, like, in the UK. She's not. She doesn't have a lot of credits. Holy crap, she was good. I mean, like, if we can give awards to Game of Thrones, we can give awards to Andor, and she needs one. That's my number one thing I wanted to say. I think Mon was my favorite part of this whole show, really. And I think that it was very interesting to end her story in this season with her, doing what she didn't want to do and giving her daughter away. Because, the contrast between the struggle of Ferrix and the lavish lifestyle that Mon Mothma has as a senator in Coruscant, she at the end is making some pretty significant sacrifices, and it looks completely different than what's going on in Ferrix. But I think it was executed really well. That's where we left things off, because we already knew, from the prison and everything else that happens in this show, the guys on the bottom are suffering, but now it's reaching the top, and there's a lot of suffering there now too, and that's just how evil the Empire is. So
I think it kind of unifies everyone under the same kind of, like, pain umbrella that is the Empire, right? Like, it even affects people in these untouchable statuses of prestige and stuff like that. So it's,
yeah. All right. Well, let's hop over. Speaking of the umbrella of the Empire, we'll hop over to Ferrix, where they are trying to. Actually, before that, I want to briefly mention how quickly they just kind of brush over the other rebel that they, like, just murdered their whole crew, and they're like, "Yep, got him." And like, when the guy walked into the room, it was like, "Oh, it's already done." They're like, "Yep, they're all dead." It's so casual. These aren't humans. They don't care, and it was a job. It's
It's a game. It's a game to them. They were applauding.
Yeah.
It's
It's wild. But yeah, we all right. So we get to Ferrix, and first I wanted to kind of talk about everything before the funeral. We got to see beautiful flashback from Cassian. we got to hear. Marva dying off screen hurt me, but I get it now. The reason it was unceremonious is because it was going to be momentous later and worth it. But yeah, the Cassian flashback, we get to see the Cinta and Vel relationship cracks. Got to see Brasso being a boss. Yeah. How did this, before the funeral, how did these parts hit you guys? What jumps out at you?
I mean, for me, it was pain. Oh, not the flashback! No. I mean, it was really magical how inspiring that moment was, right? And just like the lesson in that flashback, but also having that kind of quiet moment before the storm with Cassian, with just his hand on the wall, and like him even starting to like smile and kind of realize like the lessons that he's been taught this whole time have really been leading to this. And especially like the conversation in the sewer and stuff like that with quote unquote the big man whose name I forget.
Brasso.
Brasso. The unforgettable Brasso.
And Cassian, like just hearing her final words and stuff like that. It's a shared perspective with Cassian because the death is off screen. We didn't get to experience it. He didn't get to experience it. So getting all these little tidbits of her near the end of everything, like hitting us the same way it's hitting him, like it was
yeah.
But
no, I love how you put that, Cal, because that flashback showed us, the care in his perspective, and then we get the line, that Marva says, he knows what he needs to know and feels what he needs to feel. And when those two come together, he'll be an unstoppable force for good. And then she says, I love him more than anything he could do wrong.
That
I can't. Wait. That is a promise that you make your children. That, even if you, whatever you do, I'm going to love you. Whatever, no matter how badly you mess up. You could turn out to be, a monster. I still love you. I'm going to love you enough to call the cops on you. That's how much I love you. And get you off the street and make you stop doing what you're doing. But and that she had that level for him, and that's not her biological son, but she's
just a brown kid she found on the lost planet.
And like there's a whole conversation that happens around the acquisition of Cassian, but that's not in this episode. But Brasso, for remembering that whole speech and memorizing it, or perhaps adding what he needed to add to it. But given how well Marva was speaking, that like the power of her speech later, no, that was all her. And Brasso being that guy is just that remembers that and delivers that information to his friend. He is the Samwise Gamgee of this show. I love Brasso. Absolutely love him. And his energy, because I've watched the episode twice today. And the first time it was all overwhelming and my emotions and things are happening. The second time through it, watch Brasso. If you guys get a chance to rewatch it, watch Brasso from the beginning. Because he knows this thing is going to go down. And everything he's doing in these moments before the funeral is in preparation for that and trying to make sure that the twitchy kid who made the bomb and everybody else and suddenly Cassian and nothing screws up his plan. He's just trying to hold it down. He's Samwise, and I would marry him given the opportunity. Climb that man like a mountain and make him marry me. That's what I'd do.
He was absolutely holding everything down, yet when things popped off, he was the first. He was
swung that brick.
Marva would have been proud.
Exactly.
And put the stormtrooper in the helmet. Love him so much. So I have a favorite character in this show, you guys. I don't know if you can tell. It's my favorite.
So what else? Yeah, Steph, what jumps out at you in this beginning portion?
Brasso. Brasso. No, the opening shot of the show is, the super macro close up of somebody soldering something. And as we start proceeding through that, you know where this whole episode is going to go, because that kid is definitely, you can tell with the exquisite care he's taking and the rage in his face, he's building a bomb. That's definitely a bomb. And
I must be real stupid then, because I had no idea what he was building until he threw it.
I was
I
terrified
was very
of
aware
him.
it was a bomb, especially when he has like the hollow of his dad who died up as he's working on it. I'm like, oh, okay.
You don't even know he's dead, or is he just one of the people that the Empire takes and then you never see them again? So you have to assume they're dead. Like, we don't know what happened, do we, to Salmon?
That's fair. I mean, we see him get taken away after the torture, and that's
right. I mean, he's totally
one
dead.
person did say that they might hang him in the square, but I don't know if that actually came to.
Oh yeah, that
fruition.
one douchebag guy who makes you really comfortable with hating Imperials. That guy.
Even then, though, we know from the prison that he is as good as dead. He will die in custody of the Empire.
Yeah, in some way or another, he's already dead.
Their bedside manner is not the greatest. No, when he was soldering, it was like either he's making a bomb or his Xbox got the red ring of his Xbox 360 got the ring of death. I've experienced one of those.
That set the tone for like simmering, controlled rage being shoved into a plan. That was this whole episode, was just that opening thing is so beautifully done. I love this show, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
And then, sorry, what else jumped out at you?
Oh man, I had a thought. Oh yeah, I mean, just the community of Ferrix, and we kind of knew that already, and it was especially evident in the episode where we do learn that Marva has passed. But just the community, and so I think that made that one guy who decided to try to rat out Cassian all that much more frustrating. I think I knew that he wasn't going to get away with it because we already had that happen at the beginning of the series, but it's they all came together, and obviously at the end of the episode we see why and what their plan was. But again, speaking to wanting more stories of just all of them, it's I loved watching the way that they were able to come together, and even the Imperials making a comment like, oh, the Daughters of Ferrix wanted this request, and so we have to do this because the Daughters of Ferrix. Like, there's just a beautiful sense of community that we get to see from that planet, and even before they rebelled, they were having some influence over the ISB, which was nice to see. So and just those little moments were probably my favorite part of that. Not even with Cassian, honestly. Yes, but and obviously the speech that Brasso gives is beautiful. But I honestly, in the whole series, there are just times where I prefer these little moments with these other characters, just because there's so much going on, but so little actually happening between them, and I just think it's really nice.
This shows. Oh, go ahead, Steph.
You brought up Nurchi, the guy who the snitch,
and
that in the context of the community of Ferrix, you realize he didn't know the plan that day. That means the community of Ferrix as a whole, unspoken, did not tell Nurchi. So he is having snitched in custody with the Empire, and then he hears the anvil start going off, and he's listening to Marva's speech, and you can just see his whole face like, oh, I'm like, he's like, I betrayed
I read
everything.
that scene totally different, actually. I read it as he knew the plan, didn't obviously know the speech, but thought that they were going to fail, so he wanted to be taken into custody to get out of the street away from what was going to happen.
Okay.
Because he knew there was going to be a kerfuffle in the street, and that's why he's like, pretend that you're arresting me, get me away out of all of this that's about to go down. Gets into custody, and then hears the speech and hears just how not only impactful it is, but how right she is.
And how it directly calls him out.
Fuck. Exactly. So that's why I'm like, yeah.
He had to get
And then,
Pegla,
you know, he's
he had
in the
to get
scene.
Pegla drunk to talk to him.
Yeah.
Like nobody was talking to him, you know.
And yeah, in the scene in the bar where he is saying like, "Oh, if you know something, don't tell me." That's when it was shady. But they are talking about Cassian coming home for the funeral. So maybe Cal might be right. Maybe he did know, but
That's how I read it.
thought they weren't going to get away with it, and rightfully so. I mean, not right to snitch, but the way that the Empire infiltrated Ferrix and took it over in the span of a day, I can understand why some people would feel pretty hopeless to do anything but try to support the Empire to save themselves.
We see the Empire rule with like overwhelming numbers and fear, right? So like having gone up against it or just having your home invaded by that, you start to realize like, hey, we're kind of screwed. Like there's no way around it. It's the Galactic Empire. Like, you know, play nice and maybe they'll leave again.
But that's what the whole thing where Cassian was revisiting Nemec's manifesto. Nemec addresses that specifically. Yes, they have overwhelming numbers, but their authority is brittle, and it's just a mask over their fear. And our urge towards freedom is the natural state, and their tyranny is unnatural. And I want to reach back into time and hug Nemec.
Oh my goodness. I absolutely love that. I actually had a bunch of notes on that as well. But I just want to bring, Isaac says it's ironic because that was the bomb that kills him. And it's siding with the oppressor is not, it's not the safest place to be. I don't know. It just reminds me of what Benny says in The Mummy. You know, he's like, it's better to be at the right hand of the devil than in his path. And you're like, that's not true at all. But yeah, I mean, and so another thing jumps out to me at this beginning part. We briefly mentioned it, but Cinta and Vel talking and the way the show handles subtext. They're talking, but there's so much distance. They're in the same place, and there's so much visual distance with them still being relatively close together. It was so telling, but that whole time Cinta is obsessed with this ISB agent.
Yeah.
And Cinta thought they broke up. Like Cinta thought that whole conversation where she's like, the cause comes first, she thought they were broken up. And here's Vel with her puppy dog eyes again. And Cinta's like, do you not understand that I'm a fanatic? I have a cause here. So that I had like vicarious proximity embarrassment for Vel in that, like, I get it, you're so pretty and it would be great to have a romance. She is also very pretty, but like, read the room, read the galaxy. It's not going to work.
Blake says the fact the community was able to bring Bix some comfort while she was in the cell, that was beautiful.
I'm like, yes.
Not only that, all of the music from all of the intros was the funeral music. Just in different forms. Some of it had percussion, but all of the intros throughout the whole show was that tune, which is like, God damn, how did you?
The thought to even do that blows my mind.
I'm gonna have to rewatch the whole season just so I can catch that.
Also, throwback to Tatooine Rhapsody.
Agreed.
I love seeing instruments in Star Wars.
Right.
So just like, again, it's stuff that's like the everyday kind of person thing, getting to see that extra flavor of just like wacky space instruments, right? Like
it's like a flute and a clarinet had a weird baby. And the other thing about it being able to comfort Bix in her cell is that they were comforting her with sound, which is what the Empire also used to torture her.
That's really cool.
So like healing those wounds directly. It's going to take a long time. She broke it. Clear answers, things like motivation of certain characters. This is what makes the show so bright. You're brilliant.
Yeah.
He's so brilliant.
Beth is the best.
Yeah.
All right. So, jumping. Oh, also real quick, we have our favorite, Imperial lady arriving in force with Death Troopers, taking this place by storm. Like she has the power, she has the control, and what happens? gets hit in the face with a rock, and that control, where did it go? You never, to quote Jurassic Park, you never had control. That's the illusion, which also goes back into Nemex's speech. Power doesn't panic, right?
Their authority is brittle.
Yeah. Whew. All right, so we get Marva's speech, and things pop off. What jumps out at you guys? I'll start with Sawyer on this one. She's been going last each time.
See, I always I love coming on these shows and making videos and stuff, and then I regret it because everybody else has something beautiful to say, and I'm just like, I'm a scientist. I didn't write notes down and be like, oh, I can make all these connections.
I can make a fart joke real quick if you want.
I feel so silly. But man, I just, there was a part of me, because we didn't see Marva's death, that left something to be desired with her character because she wasn't in the show for very long. And so to see her giving this speech, having known she was going to pass, and having, again, the community of Ferrix using that as their rallying cry to oppress the oppressor. It was so beautiful. And I was really happy that, Cassian got to hear it, and that, just B2 getting knocked over, and then
oh
my
God. Not.
I was yelling at the screen.
I was about to stand up and actually flip my desk.
Not. How dare you?
And I was like, how are you gonna get up? They're not gonna leave him down there. Like somebody.
I know, he's on the ground on his side, whimpering, according to the subtitles. Don't.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
He's the goodest boy.
But maybe I'm just, I knew something was coming, but maybe I'm just totally dull and I didn't realize that there was going to be an uprising at the funeral. But it was, I don't know, it was everything that the show has talked about finally, and Marva's kind of dying wish, to be part of something big. And it was amazing to watch, even for somebody who didn't realize there was a bomb. But that made it all that much more exciting, right? Because he throws the bomb, and it's not just a little, one explosion. It sets off all this stuff, and it's, the Empire doesn't expect it, and because they underestimate the little guy, and that's how the Rebels end up winning in the first place. We knew that already, but to see it take effect on just this one world was really amazing. And all the while, Cassian is with Bix trying to reinstill the hope that she's lost because of all the torture she's been through, and how it's Marva's speech and that bomb that sets it off, and finally she's able to be like, okay, maybe we can get out of here. And just to see the whole planet filled with hope at such a grave point in their existence was really what Star Wars is all about, right?
Yeah. And it also kind of makes me think of the end of Rogue One, because in Marva's speech she talks about there's darkness that's reaching this like a rust, and we let it grow. It's here. It's not visiting anymore. The Empire is a disease that thrives in darkness, and we've been and it's it's the most alive when we're asleep.
Yeah.
And after that she says, maybe fighting is useless. Perhaps it's too late. If I could do it again, I'd wake up early and fight it from the start. Makes me think of the end of Rogue One. We're like, do you think anyone heard it? They did all this fighting, and they don't even know if
they don't even know if
it they
worked.
received. But
the signal got out.
But they hope.
But the fight, the hope is what it's all about. And I don't know, that was
Rebellions
beautiful.
are built on hope.
And that ties to his manifesto, where he's saying every little act of insurrection pushes our lines forward, and someday there will be the one thing that's too much and that breaks it. And so they have to keep doing these little things, because you never know which one of these little things is going to be the one thing that finally breaks the Empire. And so it's just, and so everybody's doing their little part, and the crew of Rogue One had their one small part that ended up being the hugest part of the story. So great. Look, Rogue One's my favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
I just want to read that part really quick. The moments of defiance will have flooded the banks of the Empire's authority, and then there will be one too many. One single thing that will break the siege. Remember this. Try. Like, man, this guy's he's
so
spitting
good.
he's spitting
Yeah,
it,
Get out of the show.
Everyone needs an award on this show. Except
Give
Cassie.
everyone.
The writing is phenomenal.
The thing, I was talking with my co-host Chris earlier today about this finale, and the thing that is the Star Wars, of it all. It's not just it's the story, but it's how the story hits us where we live and how it hits us in our lives, and to see this group of everyday people, marginalized people, organizing, standing together, and fighting back against space cops, basically, against a barricaded wall of shields, gave the strongest Stonewall riots vibes right after we have this recent shooting at a gay club in Colorado Springs. So like that, there's no way they intended for it to resonate that way. But that is absolutely how it resonated for me and for Chris. Was like, yeah, this is just a marginalized community standing up and saying, you know what? No, not anymore. We're going to stand up for ourselves and we're going to take down this authority. And it was amazing. I hope that there is a Rick's Road parade every year. For
that would actually be really cool. People just bring their own instruments and like that would be sick. I think we need to arrange that. Awesome. Yeah, the things keep happening and they're just all too applicable. It's scary, and again, sometimes it makes it uncomfortable to watch. But how they talk about this, one thing will break the siege, right? Cassian wasn't a believer. Went to Aldani and helped with this heist. That heist was the catalyst for his mom to finally want to stand up, and in her speech became a catalyst for it's this big old feedback loop, and it's I don't know, it's just really, really cool.
You know what really struck me was Luthen in this episode. He had like 10 lines total in the whole episode, but you watch, because Stellan Skarsgård is amazing, his whole journey as he's bearing witness to this funeral. This is a guy who thought he was it. Like he's the driving force behind this rebellion, and he's got to do everything, and he's got to move all the pieces, and he's had to sell his soul and live in darkness for a sunrise that he'll never see, and all of this. And now he's seeing a rebellion pop off he had nothing to do with. It's got a momentum of its own. And during her speech, he had a little chin wobble. He was moved to emotion.
Starting to see the color on the horizon of the sky start to change.
So good. And then we get to the end and he smiles for the first time in the short hair face, and it's just
without wearing,
because he was inspired too. Damn it!
Love it. I think one thing that I noticed during the funeral, I don't think I've ever been that tense during a funeral, but seeing 3 different colors of garb for the people from the funerals coming down the 3 different roads was kind of like seeing the 3 puzzle pieces, the rebellion, the ISB, and Cassian all coming together. But also them being yellow, orange, and red is very evocative of like fire, the spark that's actually leading the rebellion there. So for me, seeing like all this stuff come together and all these puzzle pieces come together, I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be insane. and it was.
That is what is Star Wars to me. Some people are like, oh, for me, Star Wars is Jedi. And no, Star Wars to me is when you have these beautiful stories and there are like 3 different storylines happening at the same time, and then they all meet up, and then they all stop, and then one thing pushes forward, and the next, and the next, and they all come together. That's like what what gets me going. That's why I love Return of the Jedi so much. And yeah, that's exactly what we got here. Also, one of my favorite moments of all time is seeing our boy up there with the hammers on the bell tower kick a stormtrooper off. Listen, I play Overwatch. I play Zenyatta. I've done that. It feels great.
Snap kick.
Yo, there's no guardrails in Star Wars. Did nobody tell the stormtrooper? Like,
This is Ferrix. Yeah,
what's he called? The time grappler. He's the
Yeah,
time
the
time
time
grappler with his Beskar anvil, just
yeah.
banging away.
What a
Oh,
sick
love that.
title.
Right. I grapple with time. Okay.
This is, where was the Willem scream though? I had that thought, and then it hit me. Andor is Star Wars without the camp, or at least the camp is dialed down to like
Yo.
20%.
Yeah.
And so that's what it was. I was like, oh, I missed that for that nostalgia thing, but I don't know if it would fit here.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, I think it would have broken the mood. I think he did have a like non-cartoony version of the Wilhelm
been
scream
hilarious.
in that moment. It would have been funny. You are correct about that. I laughed anyway because I'm a terrible person. But yeah.
Ferrix is one massive OSHA violation.
The Star Wars Galaxy is
so
one
is.
massive ocean violation.
Very true.
They just leave their gloves just sitting out there. Just
They're
no,
just
like
right there.
mold or
Like the
anything.
honor
Like-
system in this community is so intense. I love it.
Also, Dad, you're getting hit in the face with a rock. Made me smile immensely as well.
You know what didn't make me smile about that? When Cyril pulls her off the street and then they have their like almost smooch moment in the closet.
That was
I'm
very
like,
uncomfortable. That was very
Oh my gosh.
uncomfortable.
don't do
This
that.
morning, this was before I even saw the episode. I didn't watch the episode until a bit later today. But I saw a tweet and somebody was like, Deidre, like, get off Ferrix.
You're
Go
starting to break up.
get your man. And I'm like, no.
I
saw
think I'm
your-
getting the gist.
Your mic is kind of cutting in and out.
Oh no. Hold on.
There's some static to it.
I'm getting the gist that you saw a tweet where someone was like, yes, Deidre, go get your man. And it's like, no, you disapprove of that sentiment. That's what I was seeing. That's what I was sensing. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't make out with your stalker. Like that's
Yeah, no.
just, that's, dude, no,
Mm-mm.
no.
All the discomfort.
I hate
You know,
it.
you know.
Can you hear
what,
me
though?
now?
And-
Yes.
No.
It is.
No,
What?
you're,
Your video is
I-
now desynced from your audio.
I think maybe like I don't know if your phone's overheating or anything, something like that, and things are starting to get wacky.
I'm sorry.
This is
No,
gonna be
all right,
trying to refresh, join, come back.
Yeah, and if you have headphones, by any chance, you might be able to use them and turn off. Well, you can turn off the noise reduction and see if that helps. And then if that doesn't work, if you have headphones, then you can plug in and turn off echo cancellation. Uh-oh.
Oh, we lost her. Oh, she
There we
back.
go. Say something.
Something.
Hello.
It's still crackly.
Real bad.
But I was gonna say, in that moment, we've been following her journey of, first of all, girl bossing it and standing up to all these incompetent men in her field, and we're like, yay! And then she's tortures Bix, and you're like, no, because it was good to see her stepping up, but it's also not good to see her, torture the brown girl. It's
Right.
kind of like
Step on.
it's. And it also it's evocative to me of early feminism, which excluded women of color, and there's a whole
Mhm.
intersectionality conversation that I am not qualified to talk about, but it's there.
Mhm.
And then we see their first meeting, where he grabs her arm, and she's scared, but she still has what is the power that she's gained amount to in that moment? She's
When you
still,
can still be stalked, grabbed by a man who has
Yeah.
nothing. Yep.
what does the power amount to? And then she shows up again in force, 2 death troopers.
Mhm.
Again,
Where the hell
power
were
doesn't
they
amount-
during the funeral?
One of them got shot in the face by Cassian. He did a sweet dive move, and that was awesome.
Nice. Cassian's so awesome.
Facts.
Her story is so interesting,
So-
and I can't wait to see where it goes.
A piece of that intersectionality there is this, and I don't know if I don't know if they intended to tell this story, but it's there with the white feminism excluding women of color, is this practice of white feminists taking their privilege and hoarding it and saying, no, I got mine, none for you. And so that's kind of what I felt like was being played
Mhm.
out in that scene with her and Bix. I've got my privilege, I've got my power, you're in my net, is a shade to that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what she was thinking of. I saw an interview with the actress whose name I cannot recall, but I'm sure somebody in chat will provide that information. If you guys don't have it.
Denise Gow.
Where she was talking about this character is really interesting because you get to show that women are also corrupted by the fascism. That it is not. Are you being attacked by a balloon animal? What is happening? Are you okay? I don't even know what I was talking about.
What?
There was a balloon animal invasion. It was very Killer Clowns from Outer Space right then. I can't.
Can you hear me at all?
Yes. Your video's
No.
lagging a little bit behind your audio, but at least you're coming through.
Is the microphone thing on the other headphone?
No, it's right here. These aren't good headphones.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's also not working.
What an experience. I'm sorry. Boo. Got the
Did you
gremlins
turn off the
tonight.
noise reduction thing feature?
Did you try plugging it? Unplugging it.
Noise suppression?
I don't think that works here.
And some sage.
Yeah, I don't know about mobile. Yeah, it might also just be packet loss from Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
No, noise suppression is on.
Turn it off. She got real wide there. But all right. We can keep talking though while she's getting adjusted. Actually, I do see her connection looks really low. Network connection. I can see that on my side. But yeah, so kind of coming towards to the end of this. I mean, that whole battle, the bomb blew up a lot larger than I was anticipating and
Oh,
set
yeah.
off subsequent bombs. And it reminded me of playing Worms Armageddon. You drop a cluster bomb.
But it's also like symbolic of kind of the spark of a rebellion, right?
There it is. Yep.
One explosion sets
And
it
then-
off everywhere.
Yep.
As violent as it is, it's true, right?
Mhm.
It is.
Yeah.
It is when the downtrodden have had enough. The first person to stand up against it's going to inspire others, and it really is just symbolic of that.
And that was an interesting choice because they had the one guy died and the camera just focused on his face.
For a long time.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was Pelga, I think it
Yeah.
was. Pegla.
The-
Pegla.
Peglo.
Really
Mhm.
hammers home how real it is, right? Like this is still a person dying here. It's not some nameless, faceless person.
Mhm.
This is a character, and they did it too. Not as long, but during the prison breakout and stuff like that too, where it's like we knew that character, we liked that character. Now we're just looking at their corpse, and yeah, it's reminding us of the gritty truth of these situations. Is it's not like a clean heroic thing where we all beat the bad guys, everything's good to go. It is a Star War.
Mhm. I mean, it's still relatively bloodless as far as what we actually see.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of gore, but still.
But
people gotta
honestly,
die.
I feel like close up on a character more impactful than just gore for gore's sake too.
Mhm.
So like you don't need it to have that level of impact. And
Yeah.
so I think it was really. I think it's just a good, director choice to have these moments like that are drawn out, that are slower, that let you resonate with the emotions you're feeling.
I do have a question for everyone. All right, so there's a character, I can't remember his name, mostly because Brian from Pink Milk Podcast calls him Ginger Bear, and the Scottish Ginger Bear, and so I cannot remember his name anymore. But
Who are we
Cyril's
talking
friend,
about?
Cyril's friend, the
Oh,
Mosk.
Mosk.
Sergeant Mosk.
Yeah,
Linus Mosk.
I can only think of him as the Scottish
As
Ginger Bear
Bear.
now.
Yeah.
At the end of this, he's just sitting on the sidewalk drinking. How do you think that guy's feeling? What do you think he expected when showing up? Because, like, first of all, why are you here? What do you?
Right.
Where do you think this is going? And after what happens, and he's just sitting there on the ground drinking.
I think if Cyril hadn't found Deidre, if she hadn't been there, if he hadn't had her to rescue, he would have been sitting there on the ground next to him drinking, because they are the same person, shaped slightly differently. Like, that's the true believer who the willing and enthusiastic cog in the Imperial machine suddenly sees that machine is rotten and breaking down around them, and very, very vulnerable to the violence of rebellious folk. That'll make you sit down and drink on the sidewalk, unless, of course, the object of your stalkerish obsession now owes you something because you pulled her off the street. I hate Sarah.
What was the hat trade-off about?
Right? Why are we trading hats?
I mean, I'll say this.
Did you say passion?
A fashion.
Fashion.
Reading what Gungan Ton, which I almost read as Gargantuan, said in chat here, that one
you can look at the chat.
that went over my head. I didn't see it like that.
I didn't get that vibe. I got Cyril and Mosk spent the night together and accidentally put on each other's hats in the morning. Cyril is out. Headcanon accepted. 100% accepted.
That would mean he was drinking from being heartbroken. Because he went there with his bro, and his bro sees Deidre, and it's like, I must go to her. And he's like,
no, what about what we had?
Goodbye, my love.
I love it. So here's your mic working now?
I don't know.
Hey, yeah.
That is better. That's definitely better. We've made improvements.
Okay.
Cool.
Hey.
There's a little bit of lag, but you're fine. Yeah. And any more thoughts?
God, on what? I got distracted by Cyril's misbegotten night with Mosk.
Have we talked about the end credit scene?
Not yet. So the last
we're gonna talk about it.
The last thing I want to mention is, so Cassian finally gets Bix, away. They save our boy B2 Emo. They got their bomb maker too. They hop on the ship, the same ship that Cassian used in the first episode. He wasn't going to be allowed to use again. And I was so worried because he said, when you get over the lake, climb. I was like, don't say climb.
But somebody had to say it. Somebody's got to say it in every episode.
He's so used to hearing it, he had to say it.
Yeah.
Everyone who has said climb has died in this show.
He's gonna die.
Give
it a minute.
But so
we have their escape, and then we also have, Cassian's like, I'll be back, I'll find you, and that moment was beautiful. He'll find it. And then the ending with Luthen. Your guys' thoughts on this portion?
I was legitimately terrified for like a microsecond when she said he'll find us. I thought she was talking about the Imperial dude that was torturing her. She was that terrified at doesn't matter, we're already dead, he'll find us.
I think that's why she had the next line where she clarified.
Exactly. That's what I'm like, oh, thank God.
Because I think that might be why Cassian stopped and looked back Oh, okay, me. Yeah.
How like painful is it for him to hear that, knowing that he's intentionally going to Luthen, knowing that Luthen wants him dead, or wanted him dead. Like he was legitimately ready to lay down his life for the cause right there, knowing that like
I
sure
don't know. I
Luthen's going to
think,
see the
and I
value in
think
it, but like
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
no, I think in the tone of his words he meant it, and like the fact that like he didn't have his gun on him and left it on the table next to him.
I think
Like,
he meant it, but I
would've been
also think he knew Luthen wasn't gonna shoot him.
I mean, hope.
I mean, it was a gamble, but he knew the odds
Yeah.
were in his favor.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good at reading people.
Yeah.
But still, I feel like that being said just before that scene is like I obviously we know that there's no chance that he would die, and he probably had it in his head that like Luthen's gonna see this as a very good like play,
Mhm.
which is why like he smiles and is kind of like, yeah, you're in. But like, nah, just to have that back to back was like, ooh.
Mhm.
Yeah, the way he said he'd be back, I think he truly believes he would be back. And so that's why I think he was confident he wasn't going to die there. But it's still B2 emo has the most heartbreaking, like the EMO is just for emotions because he's the
Yeah.
most emotional
Uh-huh.
droid. I don't know why they
Got it.
implanted that in the model, but he's like, you're not coming.
I never got to see you.
Like,
No, baby droid. I love him so much.
all right, so now we got the end credit scene.
Yo. Did you recognize what the robots were installing?
Mm-hmm.
We've been
Absolutely.
speculating ever since Cassian went to prison. Been speculating what are they building, and the general consensus was they're building parts for the Death Star.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's the biggest construction project in the galaxy, and why build one when you can build two for twice the price? Like it's so they need all the labor that they can get. That's exactly what they were installing. Is what Cassian was building in prison. They were building the dish.
The dish,
On the-
specifically the dish.
weapon that kills him.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Like
Uh-huh.
he's building the tool that kills him.
Yeah.
Like that's oh my god.
But at the same time, right? In prison, they were following the rules, right?
Mhm.
Kino was trying to make sure of that and making them as efficient as possible, and efficiently working within the system benefits the system, and
Right.
you're building your own tools of oppression, and it's although part of me still kind of wishes that the thing would go up and then the next team would just disassemble it and
Send it
just
back
go
down.
back down. That would still be funny, but yeah.
No, the Empire's not going to waste free labor. They're actually going to put them to work for something.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, the whole story of
13th
Kino
Amendment vibes.
figuring out that playing by the rules, you're playing by the rules that they told you. You're not playing by the actual rules of the game. So that's how you end up getting killed by it. So that's so good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Your
Post-credit
thoughts on that
scene.
insane story?
I mean, I like that it wasn't. It didn't add to the story. We already were speculating what was going on with that, and it did. There was no flashy cameo or what's to come. It's just it's just kind of a reference to the fact that Cassian was building what ended up killing him, and it had a very, I think we've come to expect end credit scenes to be like big reveals, and it was a reveal,
Right.
but
I feel like it's a cameo.
wasn't-
The Death Star made a cameo.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fair.
pretty much the
The star was looking good.
But it didn't really serve a purpose in
Yeah.
suspense or whatever. It was
Mhm.
just kind of.
I feel like it was a
know.
hook to tie the story back into the grander Star Wars universe that we know.
Yeah, but I would
Oh,
also
yeah.
say that it in some way, because obviously it wasn't a happy ending. We had a lot of casualties, but it ended on a note of hope. And I think having that be the end credit scene is like pulling back and going, especially the pulling back. Now we're in space. We're not on this planet anymore. Don't forget, this is still the Empire's world that we're living in. So,
exactly. Yeah, that's legit.
And honestly, like you're saying, I think this was a better way to do it than to just throw in a cameo. Because legitimately, at the end of every episode, it's just burnt into me to like quick go through the scroll bar just to see if there's ever any.
Right.
And
Thanks,
when I
Marvel.
saw something, I was like, don't be like Palpatine or something like that. Like we don't need that.
Yeah.
We don't need some cameo from somebody like. And so to kind of get what we got, I was like, oh my gosh, like it was just very very well done.
I think it did exactly what. Oh, sorry, keep going. I thought you were finished.
Nope, you're good.
Oh, it did exactly what end credit scenes should do. Like it didn't fit inside the brackets that is this show, but it adds to the overall. So yeah, put it at the end after the credits. That's where don't put things I need after the credits. That's stupid, and I hate that.
Add something that enhances, not something that is the key component to the damn story.
Especially when it's after the credits and it's entirely missable.
I do kind of wish, though, that we would like see like it starts in a camera shot starts in space, pans down to a planet, goes down, and we see ocean, then we see shore, and then we see a body laying on the beach, and it's Kino, and then he wakes up.
He's got floaties,
and then it ends, and you're like, he left, he made it, you know. But again, that's not.
He real dead.
It's wishful thinking.
Real dead.
Yeah. All right. So I think that kind of wraps everything up. So I want to go around one last time and have you guys say once again, you know, who you are and where we can find your amazing content. If we have anything we missed in the episode that you want to bring out, any points or anything like that. And finally, for Doug asks if we play Bang, Marry, Kill. And Doug asks, Bix, Cassian, Kino.
Damn it, Doug. Are we doing this?
We're doing it. We're doing it. All right. So yeah, we'll start with Cal. If you remember everything I said.
Yep. One thing that we didn't talk about that I kind of wanted to bring up as one final thought was I was actually the one single thing I was mildly disappointed at with the finale was there was just not that much Cyril. Like he had so much build up and then he kind of was just there. Like he did kind of have that one moment that's going to come back and play something in the future, right? It's going to be kind of his in to get further in the ISB and stuff like that. But like, I don't know, I was expecting there to be like a moment between him and Cassian, kind of like the two people on the sides of opposite sides of like a ravine screaming at each other or something like that. Just something there. But like it felt a little weird to just have him kind of be there for a little bit.
I feel like that was the logical conclusion of his useless career, is to just be chasing ghosts, and ultimately all you can do is stand there and watch history happen.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a take, I think it was on TikTok, it might have been Twitter, but it was last week. Somebody said, I really, the only thing I want is for Cyril's story to go nowhere. And I kind of like that, actually. Like, you know, he was so worked up about all this stuff, but he just, you know, really, honestly, he probably could have done some good if he was on the right side. But, you know.
Turn that energy into a good direction.
Yeah, even his passion, the Empire doesn't care for passion. The Empire cares for it, whether or not you do the work they want you to do, follow the rules. So in a pathetic kind of way, I disagree. I kind of like that nothing happened with him.
I'm a fan of his mediocrity.
Fair perspective. Yeah.
I want to see him as a homeless man at the very end of the next season.
To see him like being a janitor on Scarif,
Yeah.
like not even a part of
Yes.
anything.
Yeah. And he can watch Cassian and Jin run by and like, oh, Ma.
Oh, I could have also been
I
a
used to
hero.
know him.
Yeah. Like I didn't want anything like good to happen with him, but I just wanted something. But I suppose, like honestly, like the points you brought up, Sawyer, like honestly, I kind of vibe with that more. Honestly, I'm just like, fuck that guy. Nothing.
My disappointment is that, and hopefully we do get it, but Cassian was looking for his sister, and she's still out there. And
I agree.
Or maybe he just forgets about that. I don't know. I'm curious if it'll come back up. But sorry, Cal, you were doing your
no worries. Yeah, as I said earlier to Cal4, you can find me on pretty much every platform at Cal4, but primarily on Twitch, Thursdays through Sunday, 9 p.m. Central, streaming a bunch of fun games. So that's pretty much where I hang my hat. But as far as the big question, honestly, I'd probably kill Kino. Unfortunately, I would probably bang Bix and marry Cassian. Because I feel like Cassian is like, he'd be the kind of person that would go to the ends of the earth for you and like give everything he has for you. And like, I don't know, Bix is cute. And Kino's just kind of a sad, crotchety old man that eventually comes around. So I think that's my answer.
All right. How about you, Sawyer?
Yeah. Okay. I'm Sawyer. I'm Sawyerism. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Hive, all of those things. And what else? Okay, the big question. I would also kill Kino. Sorry. He's gonna die anyway. I'm sorry. But for that same reason, I would bang Cassian because why would I marry somebody knowing he's going to die?
We're all gonna die.
Then I would marry Bix because I think she's beautiful. She's got a great personality, and I would think she would make a great spouse. So, there you go. That's my answer.
All right. Beautiful. And Steph?
Okay. Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm one of the hosts of Dark Side Divas, which is a podcast where a woman and a gay man are watching through the entire Star Wars visual story in chronological order. You can find the podcast anywhere there are podcasts, or you can find us on all the socials as at Dark Side Divas. And if you're into the chronological story aspect, but not the Star Wars of it, why are you watching this show? But we also do the same thing for Marvel and the MCU on Marvelous Divas, same details. Anyway.
Also, you got a store, right?
I have a little Etsy shop on Etsy, Art Goblin for Life with the number 4. I am hand painting. It started as a hobby in the pandemic. I was just like, this light switch plate looks really boring. I popped it off the wall and painted it. And now that's what I'm selling, hand painted light switch plates on Etsy, doing like the Death Star over Andor and stuff like that. And like some Ventress, because there's never enough Ventress merch and stuff. So yeah, Art Goblin for Life on Etsy. It's also on TikTok. Bang, marry, kill. Very proud of myself for saying bang, by the way. Point that out. I'm banging Kino because I love Andy Serkis so much. I love a mean mug and a thick body, and and he's just so little and just magnificent, and I love him. And he's gonna die, and he can't swim. It's the saddest thing. So yeah, I'm gonna throw him some love. Because on the one hand, you marry Cassian because you know he's going to die. So you go ahead and lay in those life insurance policies ahead of time.
Okay, so you're a planner, evil genius.
But that puts me in the position of having to kill Bix, and don't ever put me in the position of having to kill Bix. So I'm going to kill Cassian. Just imagine me walking up like right before the wave hits, and I just, and then I teleport away, and I don't get killed by the Death Star myself. And I'm going to marry Bix because she's so skilled and so pretty, and she could set up like a Salyard, and she could have a shop, and she fixes stuff, and I paint things. I don't know. I don't know what I contribute to this relationship. Why would she want to marry me? But I'm
like,
gonna marry Bix.
I mean,
situation
you're a
is similar.
major step up from Tim, so
That's a low bar. So
and for me, I am I'm gonna say same, Bankino, because he spent a lot of time in prison, so
he's got some feelings to work out.
so, yeah. Kill Cassian, and as St. Pat says, if you marry Bix, you get Bix your whole life.
Mm.
But then read what I said after that, because there might be potential there afterwards. Because like if Cassian's gonna die,
That's
knows?
true, but you're just trying to break
Who
the
knows?
game. But all right, thank you guys so much for coming out and
Thank
talk.
you.
This has been a
Mhm.
blast. Thank you everyone in the chat. We got Isaac Church, Cal's in both places, St. Pat, Doug Snyder, Tim's Talk, Element 7. We have Leanne Batten. We got I kept the reading as Gargantuan as well, which is Gungantuan.
Gargantuan Gungan.
Yeah, Mara J. Skywalker.
You know they have muscular tongues.
Uh,
oh
It's
geez.
true. It's true. It's on Wikipedia.
I know it's true. I just why?
I'm helping you outro. What?
Yeah. So, on that note, we'll go ahead and sign out while you guys are still thinking of Boss Nass's enormous muscular tongue.
Muscular
Throbbing
tongue.
tongue.
Have a good one. May the force be with you always.
Good night.